Today is such a special day, being that, first of all, I'm with a gentleman who we met about a year or 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
At the New York City Real Estate Expo. And what you said to me a couple of weeks ago really resonated with me. And when you said that, when we initially met a year or two ago, and you said, you haven't came to my office, we haven't taken the time to sit down yet and collaborate, those things put a fire under me, to make me understand that there's always a great opportunity in life to connect and collaborate and be around great people.
And I've been waiting for
like
you for 12 months.
So
I understand that you've been caught up with work and all the
life,
all the activities.
Yeah.
But I definitely was waiting for you. It was a great opportunity when we met a year and a half ago, more or less, and you interviewed me, and I appreciated that opportunity.
Of course.
So I wanted to reciprocate to you.
I'm grateful to be here, and just to give a little background of, again, how we met. We met at the Real Estate Expo. It's amazing to see so many like-minded people. Not that you connect with everybody in life, but when you and I met, knowing that you're in the industry with your son, I have a similar upbringing in the industry. I worked with my father and still do, for a long time, and it's amazing to see, the relationship that you guys have, and that, to do things together is fascinating.
We have a good relationship. Sometimes we bump heads.
I'm sure.
He actually keeps me up to date. And
that's what I wanted to talk about. I'm sure he brought more of like a modern ideas to the real estate business, because you've been doing this a long time. Let's talk a little bit about your background and how you started.
Yes.
When did you get into the real estate business?
I got into the real estate like most people do.
Yeah.
Dean, and it was in 1989.
Before I was born.
Before you were born. I believe you were born in 1994.
Correct.
And although I have to tell you this, I got into real estate. I saw this big sign, this huge real estate company was hiring real estate agents. And I just walked into the real estate company. But this was after an experience of meeting someone that inspired me, someone that I still speak about even 30 years later.
Yep.
And sometimes when you see someone that is more successful than you, you have two options. One option is to emulate what they do what they do, and work harder to accomplish more than this person that is inspiring you did. And that's what I did. 30 years ago, I became a real estate agent. Then I became a real estate broker.
Yep.
Then in 1994, I affiliated my company with a franchise company, one of the largest franchise entities in the United States and in the world. I was a member of this franchise from 95 to 2015. My company was number one in the whole state of New Jersey.
It's amazing.
Top 1% in the northeast of the United States of this franchise. And in 2015, we became independent, and the reasons are obvious. I do not think that franchises are longer relevant. I don't understand why real estate agents would join a name that is no longer relevant today. It was relevant 20 years ago, and pay 6 to 10% of their commissions to these franchises that do not contribute anything. And here we are.
No, it's amazing. And kind of going into like you starting your own business after being in the industry, what kind of mindset do you think it took for you to finally say, like, I have to start my own company? Because I've been in the corporate environments, that I'm also now, kind of on my own. We're still with a company, but I have my own branch of a bank, and it's a lot different than being in the corporate structure, the franchise structure, which I feel like is similar to a corporate environment.
Yes, it is.
So what drove you to make that decision? Because a lot of people are comfortable. You have a high payout. You have all of these things that, sometimes the big companies offer, but even for myself, I always had that itch that I need to be more self-sufficient. I want to make some other decisions that maybe you can't make if you're in that type of big company. You know, what made you take that step to say, I have to do my own thing?
The money.
Yeah.
Real estate, in the real estate business, whether it is the mortgage business
Yep.
or the real estate business.
I look at it as the real estate
we know
business.
it, yes.
Yep.
Sky is the limit.
Exactly.
You can make a lot of money. You can make it, the only drawback of real estate is that it is 99% mental. If you're mentally weak, this business is not for you. Because you're exposed to the elements.
Yep.
When a real estate transaction do not move in the direction that you anticipated, and then you're mentally out. I'm
Yep.
gonna quit this business is not for me. When you take a client out, show them 20 houses, not understanding that you're showing them the wrong houses and they don't buy anything, you talk to yourself, this business is not for me. So to remain relevant, which is what I always fight for,
Yep.
how do I maintain my relevance in the real estate business so that people do not see me as someone who has been in the business 30 years, but is no more what he was 20 years ago, 25 years ago, 30 years ago, is fighting to not to quit.
Yeah, of course.
You have to be mentally strong. You have to be careful how you talk to yourself, because anytime that you talk to someone or you voice out something that you are in disagreement with in the real estate business, you're talking to yourself that way.
Exactly. You made a great point. I feel like when things start to get a little tough, especially in really any industry, but the real estate industry, a lot of the times you're dealing with either a first-time home buyer or a seller, you know, somebody that's dealing with probably the biggest financial decision of their life. So emotions are going to be involved, and it's up to us as the professionals to make sure we keep everybody, you know, comfortable throughout the process. I see so many loan officers and real estate professionals and financial planners or anybody who's related to money. I see them sometimes let their emotions take control of how they do business. Now, I'm not saying you have to have every day be the best day, you know, but when you make a commitment to a client or to a referral partner or to anybody in business, you have to make sure you try to put your stuff to the side and understand that this is still a job and we're here to serve people and do the right thing. So if you let those emotions get the best of you, like you said, people want to quit their job. I didn't close enough loans. This loan or this purchase fell through at the last second, and they get discouraged. But if you can thicken the skin a little bit and realize that this business is not going to happen overnight, the success is not going to happen overnight, and if you could put the time in and realize that eventually, you know, by planting seeds, that things will start to work out, you know, I think you'll see tremendous success in this business. That goes for anybody.
And it is amazing. And I'll tell you this thing. I always say this, and I keep repeating it.
Yeah.
95% of this business is how you react to 5% of what happens to you.
I love that.
Anytime that I interview a real estate agent that comes to my office, I always tell them, working for Premier Homes is not going to be easy, because I am going to be coaching you until two things are going to happen. I'll get the diamond out of you, or you're going to quit.
Correct.
But if you're going to quit, I want you to quit now, not 6 months from now.
Exactly.
And the pressure is going to be brutal. I warn them. If you come to this office, it's because out of this office, you're going to get something. You're going to get training. You're going to get value. But most importantly, which doesn't happen with many brokerages, is I'm going to hold you freaking accountable.
I love that.
You are going to make money in this company in despite of yourself. But I want you to know something. If you're mentally weak, you're not going to make it in this business. If you're mentally weak, you have two choices. Work on that and change, or quit. But if you're going to quit, do it now. I don't want you to be one of those who join the real estate business for the wrong reasons.
Correct.
Because as brokers, we have the responsibility to make sure that agents do not become real estate agents just to show houses, write contracts, or take mortgage applications like in the mortgage business.
Yep.
Is to understand the dynamic of the real estate business, because it is important for people to really know what the dynamic is according to every real estate transaction, according to every situation, which is one of the reasons why 87% of realtors do not make it past 5 years.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Even the same for loan officers. I remember there was some crazy stat, like during the COVID pandemic, there was about 500,000 licensed loan officers in our country. And if you look at today, there's about, I think, less than 100,000 remaining. And I feel like you could interpret that two different ways. You know, of course, that means business is more challenging, and maybe to become successful during that time is more difficult. But I look at that, and I looked at that time as an opportunity. I looked at that time as, you know, the people that don't deserve to be in the industry, that didn't stick through the challenging times or couldn't make it through those couple of years that I wasn't used to. They don't deserve to be in the industry. You know, a lot of people want to get back into the business when things get easy, but that's going to trickle down to everything in their life. Because if you think that anything's going to be easy, and you know more than I do, it's not. You know, it's just not how life goes.
I don't think I know more than you do. You know a lot.
Well, listen, I respect, you know, I see everything that you've accomplished. You know, to see your son work alongside you, you know, going back, like I had said, when I started in the industry, you know, my father comes from a financial background, you know, money management and doing different stuff aside from mortgage lending. So when he got into the business, you know, with his partner, who was my mentor, it was about 2012, so sometime around there. And I never really understood what the mortgage business was or what anything related to sales was. I was, you know, 15, 16, and we didn't have social media back then like these new young professionals have now. You know, and people might look at me like I'm crazy. I'm 31 years old, but I didn't have the resources and the technology and the stuff that these loan officers or new realtors get nowadays. So going back to what I was saying, you know, when I started in the industry, you know, yeah, I got an opportunity, and I'm grateful every single day that I received an opportunity, you know, but it was up to us to realize that if you don't put that work in, and if you don't continue to do the things like you said, by looking at the successful people, working harder than them, staying later than them, getting earlier to the office than them, you know, you're not going to reap the rewards of this industry. And I learned that from a young age. You know, I saw my father always work very hard, work on the weekends, you know, miss certain things, because that's what it takes to become successful. You know, later in life, in my 30s, I now appreciate that. And it means more than anything to me, because I would never want to be, you know, someone who, forget being handed things in life, because I would never want that. It sounds good, but, you know, when you don't learn to do it on your own and go through the adversity, you know, you can't pay your bills 1 month or whatever it is, you know, those are the things that shape you as a person, I feel like, in our industry and in life. You know,
most people didn't get into the real estate business between 2020 to 2025.
Yeah,
and in the real estate business, like in any business, you need to develop the talent of anticipation.
Exactly.
If you do not anticipate, you always think, I'm doing well, I'm going to always be doing well. And when the real estate market has an up or down, which is actually happening now more frequently than before.
Yep.
Before, for example, 30 years, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, even 15 years ago, the dynamics of the real estate business would take 5 years. Every 5 years, something happened. Every 5 years, something happened in the mortgage industry, something happened in the real estate industry, something happened with the bonds, with Wall Street, so on and so forth. Today, it's happening on a daily basis or even on a weekly basis. So people who do not have the talent, and I'm not talking about experience, because anytime that someone tells me, I've been in the real estate business 30 years or 25 years.
The most famous line in the book.
Exactly.
I've been doing this 30 years.
Men in the real estate
I hate
business.
to say it, if you were really, really, really good at it, you might not still be in the industry.
I always say this. How many flying hours do you have?
Correct.
Because if you ask a pilot, you do not ask a pilot, how long have you been flying? What equipment have you been flying? You ask, how many flying hours do you have?
Under pressure, in the trenches.
Exactly. So when people tell me, I've been in the real estate business 25 or 30 years, which is the line that is used by mediocre people to show some power or influence over you.
It's an egotistical thing also,
I always tell them, I'm not going to tell you how long I've been in the real estate business, but the real estate is defined by how many transactions you have under your wings.
Correct.
And I'm not going to ask you how many you have had, because it appears to me, based on your behavior, that not too many. Otherwise, you have learned how to even deal with someone like me. And that's one of the problems today. And I'll tell you this, we have less real estate agents. Today, training real estate agents is more difficult than 15 years ago, because the level of receptiveness is not there anymore. Sometimes when I talk to my agents and I tell them how to do certain things, I have to ask them, repeat what I said a second ago, and they can't. Sometimes you speak to people, even your clients, and what they understand is not what you meant to say. And that is a problem. The other problem that we have in today's real estate market is you can make so much money. I remember when I got into the real estate business, the median price was $150,000. Wow. What is 6% of $150,000 versus 6%?
It's a big difference.
Of the same house that is worth $850,000, $900,000 today. So one real estate transaction today will allow you to live for 3 months. And this is the mentality of some people. Instead of saying, I sold one, I'm going for the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth.
That's a great point.
I am telling my agents right now, and people, there is no reason why you shouldn't be preparing to make $500,000 minimum in 2026. Minimum. I mean, between 500,000 to $1 million. And I'm trying to embed that in the brain of the real estate agents, so they feel if they make $200,000 divided by 12, I don't know how much that is, it could be probably $25,000, they would feel, I could have done better. And
I love that mindset. A lot of people, it's hard for them to understand that, because I feel like in life and in business, sometimes people tie money to, that's not how you should think about business. When the reality is like you said before, and like I agree with, number one, obviously we're trying to help people, but
of course.
Number two, we do this to make money.
Of course.
So people that do the right thing in life deserve, in my opinion, to get rewarded. So when you put a monetary number on things, like I'll speak to salespeople and loan officers and guys that work at, and people that work at my company, and sometimes when you put numbers out there, it doesn't sound realistic, or whatever, could be too low or whatever it is. But I love that approach, because I'll never set false expectations with people, because I feel like if you tell somebody that you're going to come in the business and make $1 million a year and, it's never going to happen. But if you give them the systems and the processes and the experience, like you were saying before, you're going to either make it or you're going to quit. I have the same approach, because not in a bad way, just we're a different shop than most people. They have those real estate shops and mortgage shops where you could walk in, you can do things on your own time, you don't need to produce business every month, and some people are okay with that. I'm not one that's okay with just filling up a desk, because a lot of us do the business ourselves. We have the relationship. So I'd rather have nobody than people that aren't going to be productive for us, the company, and for the people they're trying to help. There's no reason to have that person at the company. So
Well, you have to make sure that people become competitive. You know, what sports do you like, Dean?
I grew up playing all the sports, but what do I really enjoy now? I play golf. You know, that's a big part of my life. You know, I've used golf as a tool also to connect with people, and, you know, it's done great for me in my life. But I grew up playing all the sports, baseball,
You know,
hockey.
if you go to a baseball game, you see the coach.
Yep.
You see the coach in the dugout signaling to the catcher and the pitcher what ball should be thrown. The catcher communicates with the pitcher and tells the pitcher what ball you should throw at me. Sometimes the pitcher disagrees, and then they come to an agreement of what ball is going to be thrown according to the person that is at the bat. And even when you are confronting the same team, the dynamic of the game is different. What am I trying to tell you? Every single human being needs a coach.
Exactly.
Sometimes you see real estate agents moving from one company to another company, looking for the shiny object. Sometimes in the mortgage business,
grass is
you
always
see the
greener,
same thing.
right?
You're looking at someone else's grass,
Yeah.
not realizing that someone is looking at your grass too. And that's one of the main mistakes that people make. People should be focusing on how many transactions am I going to assemble by virtue of the one that is available to answer all my questions when I have a question. That's why I was telling you a few minutes ago, I like and I admire that despite of how busy we have been today, you've been taking all the phone calls, because I'm the same way.
You have to be.
I'm the same way. You don't want to miss a phone call that is going to cost you 10, 15, 20,000. And you also said this, you know, we're in this business to make money, and in the process, we're in the business of making people happy, of selling a house, getting them a mortgage, going to the closing, handing over the keys.
Yeah.
And understanding that this business is about managing emotions. When people ask me, what business are you in? I answer what?
The customer service business, not the sales business. You might have a different word, but I look at it as, you know, I'm serving people. I'm in the customer service business.
I am in the sales business. That would be my answer.
All right.
And in the process, I'm helping providing
Correct.
customer service.
Exactly.
And making people happy. Yes.
No, it's amazing. I want to talk about your son a little bit, because I love the dynamic, because I come from a similar one. When did you start working with your son? And I'm sure, like you said in the beginning, you know, he's probably so innovative with technology and with the ideas and with social media. So I'm sure you've learned a lot from him also. I know we're supposed to learn from our fathers, but I feel like you've probably, I know my father would say the same thing about like some technology and the way we need to be in 2025 and not 30 years ago. I'm sure you've learned some great things from your son. You know, what's it like to be in business together? And I'm sure it's amazing.
I'll tell you.
I'm sure we have our days that obviously...
See, one of the beautiful things about real estate is I had the time to drive my kids to school, to pray with them in my car, to get out of my car, to drop them off, to kiss them goodbye when they went to school, to pick them up. I never allowed my kids to be picked up by the school bus. That was an opportunity that I had to spend time with my kids. And the love is reflected today, the relationship that I have, not only with my son, but with my daughter.
Yeah.
And I used to take my son to his baseball games, bring them to the office, drop him off, make sure that he did his homework in one of the desks of the office.
Yeah.
And he never showed any interest for real estate, but he was always very competitive. The kid, from the time that he was born, he wanted to be number one. He was a pain in the neck when he was a little boy. I had to go to school many times to speak with the principals and the teachers, because he was always trying to challenge the teachers in a nice, respectful way. why this, what, because that's the way he was with me.
Yeah.
But he never showed any interest in being in the real estate business. In 2020, my father was taken to the hospital. And of course, because we were in the middle of a pandemic, that I couldn't see him, I couldn't spend time with him, I couldn't visit him at the hospital. But I was very, I was waiting for the phone to ring. Your father is getting well, or something happened with your dad. And I remember this particular day where at 4 a.m. the phone rang. I had my phone in my night table. 4 in the morning, I get a phone call, and the doctor tell me, I'm sorry, but your father is gone. And I don't know if George was up or he was waiting also for the phone to ring. He sprung into our bedroom, and he asked me, what happened? Is Grandpa? And I said, yeah, he's no longer with us. He cried. He asked me to pray with him, so we went out of the house, went around the block praying. Since that day, he has not separated from me. I don't know if he thought if he would spend time with me, nothing would happen to me. I don't know. And he became what you see today, a very competitive kid. The real estate agents affiliated with my company, Premier Homes, don't call me anymore for advice. They call him. This 23-year-old kid telling real estate agents who are much older than him what to do.
It's amazing.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy how something like that, you know, that's just the sad part about life. I remember when my grandfather on my father's side passed away. It was, I think, 2000 and maybe 16 or 17, and that was my father's best friend. So to see him go through a time like that, and to see the family deal with that, you know, I'm an old school person. I take those things very seriously.
Yes.
You know, I'm very family oriented, and that naturally brings people closer together, unfortunately. But it's also it's a good thing that something like that so beautiful could happen, that now, you know, he's right by your side, you know, because that's why we do this. You know, that's why I wake up every day and work as hard as I work, and, you know, do all the things that I want to accomplish in life. It's to live a great life, of course, but it's for the people around me too.
Of course.
My daughter, my family, my parents.
That's very nice.
To make them proud.
Yeah, no, family is important, and stay close to God. I'm very close. I always say that I have a direct line of communication with God.
Yeah.
And Jesus Christ, which is important.
Of course.
God has to be in your life.
Yep.
Yes. And that's what Georgie is. He's a good kid. My daughter is a wonderful kid too. Two different personalities. Yeah. Georgie is very competitive. He's brutally competitive. Like he was when he was a little boy. And he's always lighting up the fire under my chair so that I do not feel comfortable. He's making sure that I do not reach any comfort zone. And I like that.
I also want to talk about, speaking about family and, you know, how important that is, you know, to help you have a positive mindset every day going into your business and stuff. I'm sure you also understand, being such a family-oriented, you know, gentleman, how important is the partner you have in your life, you know, a wife or a husband? How important is that role in doing what we do, building a business? You know, probably not, I know you said you get to drive the kids to school and pick them up, and that's also why I chose this industry.
Because I wanted to
have flexibility, to be able to do those things. How important is it to have somebody by your side as a partner as you're going through all of this stuff? You know, working hard, you know, not knowing if things are going to work out every month, you know, especially in the beginning, I'm sure, as you build a business. You know, how important it is to have that person. That is
vital. Yeah. That is important. You know, when I always say that, I tell my wife, God created you for me, without you knowing or me knowing that I was going to end up with you because I was living in another country and I was born before her.
Yeah.
She's from Spain, came from a very beautiful family-oriented background, very supportive of me. I think that every man should understand that the leadership or the relevancy of the man in the family is important. I don't argue with my wife. You never argue in your house with anyone. You lose. Both lose. The relationship lose. And I don't argue with my wife. Sometimes I disagree with her. Sometimes she disagrees with me. Sometimes I tell her what my opinion is, and that's the end of it. Sometimes she tells me what her opinion is, and that's the end of it. But she has given me the freedom and the space and the wings for me to do what I want to do for the benefit of the family as a whole.
Of course.
Because she trusts me, and that is important. Who you spend the rest of your life with,
I'm sure, yeah,
with plays a very important
of course, yeah,
role in the future of your career and your family.
You hear so many stories about people being overwhelmed because of their at-home stuff and their relationship, and that plays into your work. You know, your clients are going to notice, your referral partners are going to notice, because I always used to say to my people, even when you're on the phone, that person understands your emotions on the other side of the phone. You know, so going back to the beginning of our conversation, you have to have at least, you know, the strength to put certain things aside, whether it's good or bad, and realize like business is business sometimes, and you can't get too high on the good times and you can't get too down, you know, during the challenging times.
Oh no, Dean, you cannot worry about what you cannot change.
Correct.
And I'm going to confess something to you. After the collapse of the real estate market in 2007, and I mentioned this during our first interview, it was brutal.
I'm sure.
Brutal for almost 10 years, where every day you wake up thinking, what is going to happen today? How am I going to be able to pay my bills next week, next month, 12 months from now, a year from now? And I was riding the wave. You know, sometimes you jump into your surfing board and you fall off and you swim, get back on your surfing board and stand up and wipe the next wave. If you understand that and don't worry and view what is happening to you as probably God has a plan.
Yeah.
I just need to find out what the plan is, and I have to go through this to get there. You're definitely going to enjoy the difficult times as much as you enjoy the good times.
That's amazing. And you know, to continue touching on, you know, some business stuff before we talk about this beautiful place that we're sitting at. You know, what's like a piece of advice or anything that you would say to a new real estate agent getting in the business, or anybody new in a sales space that's looking to become successful going into 2026? I know that for myself, I feel like we've been not waiting, but the last couple of years you've been hearing, well, rates are coming down, the housing market's going to change, and I feel like that's stuck in people's minds. You know, but what's some advice you would give to anybody new starting out going into next year? You know, is it like, don't listen to any of it, just stay focused and work hard? And like, what are your ideas? What are your thoughts?
Always check your attitude, your way of thinking, the way you talk, what comes out of your mouth, because what comes out of your mouth becomes your reality. When I got into the real estate business, the interest rate was 12%.
Yeah.
And we were selling houses like crazy.
I'm sure.
I built in real estate commission $780,000 that I collected between 1989 to 1990. And then in 1990, the real estate market collapses on me. So I have to wait until 1996 for the real estate market to begin to recover.
Wow.
Then in 2007, it collapses again. But if you, and then I remember that I was selling houses at 12%, 11%, then 11.5%, then 10%, then 9% in 1991. And today people complain about the rate.
People are used to something that I feel like we saw during the pandemic that is not, forget not being reality because it happened, but you can't base your life off of things that happened in the past. You have to understand that this is where we're at now, and if it makes sense, we make a decision. You can't base things off of the past. You know,
and in the real estate business, you need to understand that your career is your business. Your career is your way of living.
Right.
You have to fall in love. I don't know if I mentioned to you, I remember an attorney friend of mine asked me, George, you work hard, you work a lot of hours. I enjoy what I do.
Correct.
I enjoy my life too. I travel on short vacations quite frequently.
Yeah.
I'm not sitting on a desk from 9 to 5. I enjoy what I do. He asked me, when are you planning to retire? And I looked at him and I smiled and I said, Peter, I retired the day I got my real estate license.
Basically.
He looked at me and he said, wow, what an approach, what a way of thinking.
I think the same way. Like you don't get up every day doing something you don't enjoy. Sometimes in life you go through times where it's tough and you don't like going to work because you're not making money or whatever it is, but I'm grateful every day that I was introduced to this business and given an opportunity because, you know, without this, I wouldn't be where I am today. You know,
the other advice that I give people then is when things get tough, the weak will fall.
Yep.
The tough will get tougher. You need to change your dynamics. This is not a business that begins at 11 a.m. This is a business that begins at 6 in the morning. You have to wake up at 4:45, 5 in the morning.
You hear that, guys?
To be out in the field at 6:30 in the morning. You know, I got a phone call from a very good friend of mine who has been in the real estate business 25 years. He works with another company. And he was very inspired about a video that I released recently where I was telling people, wealthy people, millionaires and billionaires, they wake up at 5 in the morning.
Of course they do.
At 5:30 in the morning, they are golfing, they are horseback riding, they are sailing, they are traveling. Poor people wake up at 10 or 11, and every Saturday or Sunday, there is an excuse. It is Saturday. I can sleep a little bit more. It is Sunday. That's why I always recommend people to listen to the audio tapes of D. Harv Eker, Secrets of a Millionaire's Mind, why some people are poor and why some people are rich. It's all up here.
It is all up there. And so many people knock that mindset, you know, wake up early, do extra, work hard, work hours that don't seem realistic to somebody, you know, but I have the same mindset. If you can't get ahead of the game, you can't expect to get ahead in life. You know, if you're going to do what most people do, you can't expect to get different results.
But of course, you're not going to be able to wake up at 5 in the morning if you go to bed at 12 midnight. Huh. So those habits have to change.
Exactly.
I try as much as I can to go to bed early, 9:30.
Like I got home at 12:30 last night, and we're leaving on the road at 6:30. And listen, I decide to make my own decisions with things like that. And sometimes when you're going through things in life and you have to put the extra time in, I'll sacrifice some things, you know, for myself, you know. So to kind of finish up today, I want to talk about where we are. You know, we didn't really talk about the Ritz Theater. You know, this place is so beautiful, and I just want you to share, you know, briefly with, you know, the audience and to talk a little bit about it. So you said you bought the Ritz Theater 20, 30, 40 years ago. How did this whole thing start? Because I feel like I'm on Broadway. Not to insult you, this place is beautiful.
No, the place is beautiful. Actually, that is a compliment.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. The place, this place was originally, there's a long story.
Yeah.
The place has a very rich history. Number one, we're here on the stage. We're having a conversation, no echo, right?
Yeah, right.
You know, this place has been awarded 14 times or recognized 14 times as having one of the best acoustics in the United States.
Wow.
The place was originally built in 1865 as the Drake Opera House. It was much smaller than what you see today. Then it became the Proctor's Theater in 1900. You know, for you to more or less situate yourself historically, 1865 was the year that Abraham Lincoln was assassinated. Then in 1926, it became what you see today, the Ritz Theater.
The Ritz Theater.
The place was built by an architect, Jacob Fabian. He built many beautiful theaters in the United States, many in New York and New Jersey. I believe the Beacon Theater was built by him too. And in 1994, we rented this place. We did an event here. It was at that particular moment that when that event ended, I was sitting on the second floor of the balcony with my brother, and I was looking around the place, and this crazy idea came into light. I'm gonna buy this place. My brother looked at me and he says, you're crazy. You don't even have the money to buy this place. And of course, being in the real estate business, you get all these crazy ideas that everything is possible. I asked my brother, get the contact information of the owner, very wealthy man, Bob Billadio, the owner of Suburban Cable that later became Comcast Cable. So that gives you an idea of how wealthy the guy was. I visited him Tuesday, the following 2 days later, and I sat in front of him in this big fancy office and he asked me, how can I help you kids? And I said, well, I want to buy your theater. He laughed. I asked him, would you consider selling it? He said, yeah, as a matter of fact, yes. How much money do you have? And I said, I don't have any money. So how are you planning to buy the theater? Well, I want you to hold the mortgage. And he actually smiled and he said, you have some guts to come here to my office, tell me that you want to buy a place and you have no money to buy it. I'm gonna give you the mortgage. That was 30 years ago.
Wow.
And 30 years later, you're here at this beautiful place that has been the house of the Rat Pack, Sammy Davis Jr., Dean Martin, Frank Sinatra, Cyndi Lauper has been here, Tom Jones, Air Supply, Styx, of some American orchestras.
It's amazing.
And for me, an immigrant from Colombia, owning a place as amazing as this one, you have to respect the ability to be able to accomplish something in a wonderful country like this one. Let me tell you, I love this country as if it was the country where I was born. I wasn't born in the United States, but if you walk into my office and the first thing that you see is the American flag.
Mine as well. It's in the front window.
I love this country, and if I would have been younger, I would have probably fought for this country.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I wanted my son to go to the Navy. The pandemic changed a little bit the dynamic, but 30 years ago, we are with another celebrity like you did, interviewing me on the stage of the theater.
Listen, I'm grateful to be here, to see what you've accomplished, with your story and with the real estate business and your family, and to be here and to be able to sit here and talk about it all is just truly commendable. And just to speak to the audience, you know, make sure you follow George Castro and his team at Premier Homes, and also make sure you check out the Ritz Theater, because you can't miss a place like this. It's amazing to be sitting up here and
I also have
to share this conversation.
I also have a YouTube channel. You can go to my YouTube channel, George Castro.
And follow George Castro on YouTube. And
I appreciate it. Thank you.
I appreciate your time. This was amazing.
And don't forget that we need to work on that real estate event
100%.
that we have to put together.
Definitely.
Yeah.